PlayStation State of Play just dropped, and while I was excited about the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, things are, well, complicated. The game has been rebranded as Ghost of Yotei, and fans are in for some unexpected surprises. A new female protagonist? That's just the start. The real controversy? The voice actor behind this character is a hardcore activist, and gamers are already raising eyebrows. Is this just another case of forced ideology in gaming, or is there something bigger at play? And why are fans already feeling doomed for the sequel? Today we're going to break it all down, from the shock casting to what this means for Tsushima's future. Before we get started, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring you the latest in gaming news and analysis. The latest PlayStation State of Play came and went, leaving fans with a lot to discuss, most of it not too positive. In my opinion, the showcase was pretty underwhelming, filled with remasters and remakes, exactly what I had predicted. One of the biggest moves they made was banking on Ghost of Tsushima 2 to carry the weight of the entire event. PlayStation is clearly hoping that this title will help boost console sales and push their PS5 Pro accessories. And what did they reveal? It turns out that the sequel isn't even called Ghost of Tsushima 2, it's titled Ghost of Yotei. This new chapter features a female lead, which on its own isn't necessarily an issue. But what's catching everyone's attention is who's behind the voice of this character. And surprise, surprise, it's yet another controversial figure. Meet Erika Ishii, the voice actor for Ghost of Yotei protagonist. Now, I've never interacted with her personally, but she's made a name for herself as a vocal activist. It's gotten to the point where I've been blocked by her on social media, even though we've never crossed paths. But that's not the real issue here. Ishii's known for some pretty extreme views, including calling the police systemically racist, and openly supporting transgender ideology. So naturally, fans are wondering, what does this have to do with the game? Let me explain. Now, let me be completely honest with you. I've watched the trailer for Ghost of Yotei several times, and I didn't notice anything that screamed woke, no forced agenda, no glaring political statements, just a standard trailer. And this is a big, but we can't ignore the patterns we've seen over the past few years in the gaming industry. That's exactly what has so many fans, including myself, feeling uneasy. It's not about what's in the trailer right now, it's about what could be coming. There's a certain track record that has a lot of gamers raising an eyebrow at this title. You can't always judge a game by its trailer, and given the current climate, it's easy to get a bit suspicious. When I first heard about a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, I was pumped. I fully expected we'd get more of Jin's story, continuing from where we left off in the first game. I mean, that's the natural assumption, right? But no, we're not getting that at all. It turns out the game is set 300 years in the future, which basically removes any possibility of Jin being involved. Honestly, that's been a huge disappointment for a lot of fans. Instead of building on a beloved character's journey, Sucker Punch has decided to wipe the slate clean and introduce a whole new protagonist. And let's be real, that's not sitting well with a lot of people. By setting the game 3 centuries into the future, they're not just moving away from Jin, they're erasing any direct connection to him entirely. Why? Because in this world, Jin would be long dead. There's no chance of even a cameo or a reference to him, which feels like a huge shift from what we loved about the original. They've deliberately distanced themselves from that character and storyline, and a lot of fans are upset. They wanted more of Jin and more of what made Ghost of Tsushima so special. So now we're left with a brand new protagonist again. Nothing wrong with that on the surface. However, it's who they've chosen to voice this new lead character that's causing a stir. Ghost of Yotei centers around a female lead, which I personally don't mind. But the actress voicing her is someone with a lot of baggage. I'm talking about Erika Ishii, and she's not just any voice actress, she's a full-blown activist, and not the moderate kind either. She's someone deeply involved in social and political movements that have a lot of gamers concerned about how her personal ideologies could seep into the game. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone for their political beliefs, but when you've got someone as outspoken as Ishii leading a major title like this, it's hard not to wonder how much of her activism might influence the game's narrative. Sony and PlayStation haven't exactly earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this kind of thing. We've seen time and time again that when studios bring in activists, it's not just about their talent, it's about pushing an agenda, and that's where the concern comes from. We're not talking about a light activist here, we're talking about someone who's incredibly vocal about her stances on policing and gender issues. Erika Ishii is known for being extremely vocal about her views, like calling the police white supremacists and being an outspoken supporter of transgender ideology. Again, you might be wondering, what does that have to do with the game? That's the tricky part. While I haven't seen anything in the trailer that screams woke just yet, the patterns are there. Sony has a history of letting this kind of thing bleed into their titles, and the gaming community is rightfully cautious. We can't ignore the past decisions that PlayStation and its studios have made. Think about it, when was the last time we saw a high-profile game without some form of activist involvement? It's becoming more and more common. And while Ghost of Tsushima was a massive hit and deeply respected for its cultural authenticity, you have to wonder, will Ghost of Yotei follow the same path? Or will it take a sharp turn into political territory? That's the big question on everyone's mind right now, and it's why a lot of people are watching this game with a skeptical eye. Now, don't get me wrong, Sucker Punch, the studio behind this game, has earned a lot of goodwill from fans after how well they handled Ghost of Tsushima. That game was a masterpiece, no doubt about it, and it showed incredible respect for Japanese culture. It was so well received that the developers were even honored by the people of Tsushima Island itself. That level of cultural sensitivity and dedication is something we rarely see in the industry, and it's why I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, Sony and PlayStation, they haven't earned that same trust. It's one thing to trust a studio, but when the publisher has a track record of pushing certain narratives, it's hard to completely overlook that. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I can't help but feel a bit uneasy. I'm not fully on board yet, but I'm also not writing the game off. I need to see more. I need to see actual gameplay and learn more about the story before I can make a judgment call. Right now, I'm on the fence, but it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on. You can't help but feel that there might be some underlying issues with this game. When it comes to Sucker Punch, I have to say they've earned some trust due to how well Ghost of Tsushima was received and how respectful it was. They even received accolades from the island itself for their approach. On the other hand, Sony and PlayStation have not earned that same trust. PlayStation Studios has a history of questionable decisions. Right now, I'm teetering on the edge of skepticism. I'm not fully committed either way, but I'm leaning toward caution, especially because of this activist involved in the project and her questionable connections to blockchain, despite never interacting with the community. It feels off. If the story can engage me and feel authentic, then I might be on board. The fact that the protagonist is female doesn't concern me, but I do find it strange to convince me that a petite woman could realistically face off against someone like Khan. I barely bought Jin's fights against him. To be honest, let's dive into the article now. Sucker Punch, a part of PlayStation Studios, recently announced Ghost of Yotei, the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, and revealed that the lead character, Atsu, will be voiced by the radical activist Erika Ishii. Sucker Punch expressed their excitement on X, describing Ishii as amazing, which is an interesting choice of words. Some folks are claiming that Sucker Punch was pressured into this decision, but at the end of the day, no one is forced into anything. They have the ability to make choices about what's best for the game. If they opt for the easy route, then they should be prepared for the consequences. Ishii identifies as a radical activist and claims to use all pronouns, presenting herself as an all-encompassing figure. She has supported controversial causes, encouraging her followers to back an organization that promotes gender-affirming surgery in the Black LGBTQ community. She called for support for the Girls of Black Trans Collective aimed at helping those in need. Honestly, it seems like there's a dangerous mindset at play. This kind of support risks perpetuating dependency rather than fostering independence. It's akin to the age-old debate of giving someone a fish versus teaching them how to fish. By trying to make life easier for people, it often feels like they're being treated as incapable of standing on their own. I simply cannot align with that perspective. Regarding Ghost of Tsushima, I almost never use the English voice actors. If a game offers a Japanese voice option, I always choose that. And then when you think about it, this shouldn't be shocking information. Almost every single Western voice actor is a complete psycho. Seriously, they're all the same. We can't act like Erika Ishii is some unique case. She's just one of many who fit this mold. They all think, act, and talk in similar ways. Just look at their styles. They all sport that shaved side head and follow the same trends. There's nothing truly diverse or interesting about them. I'd never choose to use their voiceovers. It would probably ruin the experience. I mean, just look at the nonsense surrounding Ishii. She previously promoted the organization for the girls back in 2020. This is someone who has shown a clear pattern of activism. She even took to social media to criticize Hogwarts' legacy, claiming she'd rather support narratives that welcome everyone. It's ironic considering she seems to miss the point entirely. The game is trans characters and players can create their own, so her complaints are completely misplaced. It's not about exclusion, it's about being so consumed by anger toward a successful franchise that she can't see the reality of it. In a follow-up post, she made a big deal about reiterating that trans rights are human rights. Thank you for that groundbreaking statement. But then she suggests that instead of engaging with negativity online, people should channel that energy into supporting trans creators and spreading trans joy. Newsflash, not everyone has trans friends, nor should we assume that's the norm. It's like they're living in this echo chamber, especially in places like California, where they might see a dozen trans individuals on one block and think that's how the rest of the world operates. But it's not. So where does that leave us with Ghost of Yotei? Like I said, I'm on the fence. I don't know where I'll land on this. I respect Sucker Punch for their past work, and I'll give this game a fair shot, but I'm definitely going in with skepticism. I think it's prudent to notice patterns in the industry. They often reveal truths that we can't afford to ignore. If we just disregard these patterns to avoid being labeled as angry or anti-woke, we're falling into a trap. Let's be honest, the likelihood that they wanted a female protagonist for this game is probably very low given the trends we've seen lately, so while there wasn't anything overtly woke in the trailer, it did look good from a graphical standpoint. Now it's time for Sucker Punch to deliver. They need to show us actual gameplay, otherwise I might just check out. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe for more updates. Your support means a lot. Don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section. Until then, take care.